The next piece we're looking at is Sculpted Bison, which, again, really obvious name, but art historians are not the most creative people. If we were, we'd be artists. And it leads to a question. What the heck is a bison? Well, the European bison is roughly similar to the American bison, sometimes referred to as buffalo. I'm not going to get into what is or isn't buffalo, but it's basically the same idea. This is probably the largest animal that they are regularly hunting at the time, and it would have fed the group for a few days. It's much better than capturing rabbits and raccoons and other things, although we know that they're capturing other animals much more often, hunting other animals much more often. And these bison are built up from clay. This is the first additive sculpture that we're seeing. Additive meaning a sculptural process where you're adding material rather than taking it away. So instead of stone carving, where you're cutting away all the excess material, here they're using clay to build it up. And these are roughly 2 feet long. Each one is roughly 2 feet long. The cracks come from the drying process, probably occurring at the time the artist created. So within a matter of a few hours or days after it's done. They're well aware of the fact that it happened. And here they're highlighted a little bit. They don't stand out as much in reality. Again, they are in strict profile. So these figures, just like our quadruped animal in Namibia, animal looking left, in this case, they're looking to the right. But again, they're being done in that profile form, in strict profile, where they become easily recognizable. And these are probably being used for communication, which is why you're going to do that. It's not always because this is the easiest form, but rather sometimes because they represent an idea that's particularly important. So you want that idea to come through quite clearly. So when you look at these pieces, we kind of have to hypothesize what they might mean. For example, there's a larger bison and a smaller bison. So are these male and female? Is the size variation simply the artist, for whatever reason, creating one that's slightly smaller? I mean, we've all tried to create two things that are identical and failed to do so, so it could be the same thing. This also leads to the question of why bison? And again, those bison are going to be among the primary animals that they want to find. They're not the primary animals that they're eating, but they are sort of the prize animal. They're an animal that's relatively easy to catch or kill. It's not like trying to track down a mammoth or something like that that's going to be much larger but much more aggressive. And the bison are going to be something that, again, can feed the entire group for a long time. They don't have salt for preservation, at least not in that quantity, but they do likely have the ability to smoke the meat, to preserve it by drying it out. With a little bit of salt added, you would need that for the drying process, but you wouldn't need as much as, say, salt-packed fish, where you're literally coating it and leaving it sitting in a brine. So a lot of possibilities here. They're also using the hides for probably clothing, shelter. They're using the horns and bones as tools. They're basically using every part of the animal. So there's a lot of reasons why they might choose bison, the primary one being how long it would feed the group.